Welcome to Behind the Law with Justin Clark, the show that takes you behind the law and answers your toughest legal questions.
Welcome back to another edition of Behind the Law. I'm here with attorney Justin Clark, and today we're going to talk about loan modifications, maybe even changing the principal. But we're going to be talking about ways to keep you and your home if you're up against the wall, if you're behind on payments, if you're getting those calls from the bank, the mortgage company. You need an ally, and that's Justin Clark. We'll be talking about that and more today, and taking your calls too. Ann, you're on the air with Justin Clark. Go ahead.
Yes, I was just wondering how I had heard him on the radio, and my interest rate is 5.5, and I was wondering how I can get that lowered.
Yeah, what's the total monthly payment right now, Ann?
Pardon?
What is your total monthly payment?
Right now it's $900 a month. The total principal is $100,000.
Okay, so the payment's $900 a month. What kind of income do we have coming in monthly? That's what we need to focus on.
Okay, right now it's only about $800 a month.
Okay, yeah. I mean, how are we able to afford this right now? Do you have family members helping you out, or what's going on?
We've had to go. We just couldn't pay. We had Hardest Hit help us, and then we haven't been able to pay, and now we're in foreclosure.
Okay. And so we're not paying the mortgage now. Any chance of getting more income coming in anytime in the future? Any family members that can help us? Anything like that?
No, they were helping us as much as they could, but they can't anymore.
Okay. And any income that we expect to have coming in additionally in the next few months, year?
No.
All right, I mean, for you, obviously, I think we need to defend that foreclosure, to give us time to stay in the house and figure out exactly what we're going to do. In this situation, what I see happen a lot of times when I have someone like Ann who simply, we just don't have enough money coming in right now to pay the mortgage, and at $900 a month, it's going to be hard to pay rent anywhere. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
because, she has to buy groceries and things. We typically will try to find a contributor, someone in the family who can give a certain amount of money per month into her bank account, okay? And they figure out exactly how much that they need to help her. And then we can add that to her $800 a month that she's getting income, then multiply that by 0.31, and that's what the new payment should be. See, when you do a modification, you have to prove that you can't afford the mortgage as it is now, but if they will drop it down to 2%, we can. So at $800 a month, it's going to be difficult for me to prove that she can actually afford it, even if they drop it down to 2%. Mm-hmm. But if I can show a little additional income that she has coming in, then I can prove that she can pay it. And this is how you do it. Doing a loan modification is not, it's not an exact science, but it's really doing math. But you have to know exactly what will fly with the bank, what will be included as income, what won't be included as income. And when they look at gross monthly income, they're not going to back out child support. There's all sorts of different things when you underwrite the file, which is what we do. When we have a new client coming in to do a modification, we literally get all of their financial documents. And then we underwrite the file from our office like we're trying to get them at 2% interest rate. And then we work backwards, basically. So someone who's self-employed, for instance, their income varies. So it depends how you present the information to the bank to where you can get the lowest possible rate. There are all sorts of ways to get a great modification, especially if you're self-employed, or especially if you can use someone as a contributor. You just really have to know what you're doing. I mean, there's just no reason why Ann or anyone else would know how to do this because it's very complicated. And I wouldn't give up. What I would do, though, is probably call the office and let's figure out a way to at least defend this foreclosure for now until we find a way to get this loan modified to actually keep you in that house.
Okay, very good. We do have a caller coming in on line one, and we'll get those that call processed, and we are taking calls at 855-297-9696, 855-297-9696. Justin, in the first half hour of this installment, we talked about a new program that you're introducing, and maybe there's some people who missed that half hour on the radio or television that would really benefit from this information because this program, I've never heard of anybody giving up anything anywhere near what you're offering to do.
You just call 321-282-1055. And what this program is a free review of your loan payment because I think there are so many people out there who have heard so much BS on the internet or seen so much stuff on the internet, heard from their neighbor, and it's always different. What we're going to do is give you a free review of what your mortgage payment should be. We're going to look at
Wonderful.
your interest rates, look at your financials, and for free, we're going to tell you what your payment should be now. Maybe your payment is as good as it can be, but I think we're doing ourselves a disservice if we don't at least look into lowering our mortgage payment, especially if you want to stay in that house. If you want to stay in that house, we need to figure out what your payment should really be. Let's see if you're paying too much now. And another thing we really need to do is because of the volatility of this real estate market, up and down, and I'm telling you, some places up 30% on their house values in the last year. We need to figure out what your house is worth. How do we do that? Go to Zillow, right? No.
No.
We don't want to go to Zillow. You can go to Zillow if you want and get an idea, but you need to call the home value hotline to figure out what your house is worth. That's where all the decisions really start from, is what is my house worth? The phone number is easy, 866-222-8231. This is the home value hotline. Let me tell you how it's set up. We have local realtors in this market, in your neighborhood, who probably sold a house in your neighborhood last week, who know, and they're going to know, let's talk about the upgrades in this house. Let's talk about the school district, or maybe the school district is changing. Zillow doesn't know this sort of thing. We have local realtors at no obligation to you. This is totally free, who are going to tell you what they think your house is worth. 866-222-8231. Let's figure out what your house is worth, and then it's going to help us decide exactly what direction we're going to go with your financial future.
You mentioned the school district. Clark Howard, heard on News 96.5 during the week, chimed in last week in a program and said that research across the nation shows that in an average-priced home, the school district, whether the person has kids or not, can change the buying price by 10 to 30% because people know that eventually somebody's going to want to be in that school district. Very important.
And if you don't believe Clark Howard, ask anyone who lives around Lake Brantley High School.
Oh,
and
yeah.
they'll tell you. Up in Seminole County, it was crazy what happened. They sent a bunch of kids from Lake Brantley to another high school down the road, and it changed the values overnight. Did Zillow know that? No.
Here comes a short break, but before we go, are you struggling to make your mortgage payments? Refinancing your mortgage is an easy solution that could save your home, and Justin Clark has worked on thousands of them. Just give the offices of Gregory and Clark a call right now, 321-282-1055, and a free consultation with Justin will give you your options. We'll be right back.
Behind the Law is pre-recorded for TV, but you can ask your questions live on the radio Sundays at noon on News 96.5. And if you need legal advice right now, Justin's associates are standing by. Just give the offices of Gregory and Clark a call at 321-282-1055.
The interest rate dictates your buying power. So I'm very concerned, along with you, Joe, about interest rates going up and having a variable rate.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back after these messages. Welcome back to Behind the Law with Justin Clark, the show that takes you behind the law and answers your toughest legal questions.
All right, we're taking your calls, and boy, we have got a bunch of them in now. We want to thank Ann for her call. It set a whole bunch of calls in motion. So let's go up to Sumter County, one of the fastest growing counties in the world that is documented. And Joe, what is on your agenda today?
Well, back in 2009, I got a CO on a house I built myself. I own the property and mortgaged the property to build a house. And after I modified from my construction loan, they modified me into a 3-1 ARM. Well, I've tried a couple of times to get the home modified into a fixed rate mortgage because of the mortgage rate fluctuation has kind of got me scared. And I've got like a 3.5% interest rate on my ARM right now. But every time I go to get the house refinanced or get it, talk to the bank about doing it, they're talking that I'm going to be in a 4.5 to 5.5% interest rate on a fixed rate mortgage.
Gotcha. Is your house underwater, or do you have equity? Do you know?
Oh no, I have equity. I've got just over $100,000 equity.
I really think you might want to. I guess it depends on your income too. I mean, it seems to me you have two different options. One is to do a modification. And let me tell you, Joe, you're smart to worry about this fixed rate thing, because anyone in this room here with me now who lived in the Jimmy Carter days know that we were paying 15 and 17% interest on these houses back then, right? What was the biggest interest rate you ever
I was
paid?
at 19.5 in Eldon,
19%.
Missouri.
You could afford like a $20,000 house. I mean, that's all there is to it. The interest rate dictates your buying power. So I'm very concerned, along with you, Joe, about interest rates going up and having a variable rate now. And I think it's probably worth even paying a little bit more monthly to have an interest rate that is totally locked in. That being said, you don't want to overpay, of course. I mean, the interest rates now, you can get something down near 4%. So I don't know why these lenders are telling you that you need to pay in the fives. And I think maybe you probably want to call the office, 321-282-1055, and let's talk about your financial situation, and let's see if it's better to do a loan modification or maybe a traditional refi. Do you know if you've called RP Funding yet?
No, sir. Most of my problem has come along because it's a log home, and every time I go to get an appraisal on it, I get the runaround from the banks because the banks say there's no comps in the area.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think you probably need to go to rpfunding.com or call my office, and I will put you in touch with them. I'll talk to you, and we'll figure out which is the best direction to go. But there's just no doubt in my mind that between RP Funding and Gregory and Clark, we can get you a much lower and fixed interest rate. So give us a call, 321-282-1055. And if you see Rob Newton up in Sumter County, right? Isn't that where you live?
Yes, I live in Sumter County.
He's a big advocate of Sumter County. So if you see him up there, tell him, give him a big hello.
Growing like crazy. Chris in Deltona, how can we help you?
Good morning, gentlemen. I've got kind of a complex situation. What happened is I moved into a house about 10 years ago with my ex-wife, and at that time married. We went through a divorce. Bankruptcy followed shortly after that. I applied for the Making Homes Affordable Program, and I did qualify, but that's coming to an end. I'm at about 3.5%. In the meantime, my ex-wife has been cleared off of the home so that the title of the home and the deed is strictly in my name.
Okay, good.
But currently I have this mortgage that was included in my bankruptcy that I am paying, I am current on, but it doesn't reflect in my credit. The bank is not real willing to talk to me about converting this over to myself or refinancing it. And I'm concerned about after the Making Home Affordable 5-year plan runs out, what's going to happen with the interest rate. And also, how can I get this? Is it possible to get a new loan that's just in my name?
You better believe it. Do you know how far you're underwater now? Any idea what the house is worth as compared to what you owe?
It's come back up. I'm probably maybe 5% underwater.
Okay. I think you have a plethora of options, really. Now, let's make no mistake. The HAMP program, the Home Affordable Modification Program, absolutely says you can do another modification. You are not limited to one modification. So right off the bat, we could look into doing another modification to try to get that interest rate lowered. And sometimes they'll even do a fixed rate to where it doesn't go up. When you say it comes to the end, normally, I mean, it is fixed in the sense that it's not going to be a variable rate. It might go up a little bit every year, but then it maxes out. Is that where you're at now, Chris?
Yes, yeah, and that's what I'm concerned about. I'm at 3.5% that they have me at right now in the program. And like I say, I'm current. Everything's going fine,
right.
But I still do have that other name on there, and I was concerned about, as you guys were just talking about, 5, 6, 7 years down the line, am I going to be at 7%, 8% on the mortgage?
Yeah, Chris, why don't you hang on the line? We're going to go to break right now, and I have one more little piece of advice for you. If you just hang on, hopefully I don't use too many of your minutes, okay? Hold on there.
We're up against a break, but before we go, are you looking to buy or sell a home? Whether you're buying or selling, this very well may be the largest transaction you make in your lifetime. Don't be intimidated. The law offices of Gregory and Clark can find you the right professionals and look out for your best interests through the whole buying or selling process from start to finish. Don't go it alone. Call the law offices of Gregory and Clark right now. 321-282-1055. We'll be right back.
A lot of people say, oh no, I got to reaffirm this house in the bankruptcy. If not, I can't keep it. That's not necessarily true.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back after these messages. Welcome back to Behind the Law with Justin Clark, the show that takes you behind the law and answers your toughest legal questions.
Hey, welcome back to the show. You're listening to Behind the Law with Justin Clark. Gregory and Clark, they're right out there in Longwood. 321-282-1055 is the office number if you want to call the show. It's 855-297-9696, 855-297-9696. Back to the phones, and Chris, who was having some problems, but we had a few more questions to ask.
Chris, sum up what we were talking about, will you?
Okay, well, I've been in the house for 10 years, went through a divorce and a bankruptcy. Still have a mortgage that I'm paying. It shows that it was in the bankruptcy. The problem that I have is, I also went through the Making Homes Affordable program. That's about 4.5 years ago. And at this point, I've got a house in my name, but a mortgage in my and my ex-wife's name. And I'd like to see if I could refinance it for a fixed rate to keep my payment affordable going forward.
That's really a good call, Chris, and a lot of issues you bring up. First of all, a lot of people file bankruptcy at Chapter 7, put the house in the bankruptcy, so to speak, but they want to keep the house. You can do that. A lot of people say, oh, no, I got to reaffirm this house in the bankruptcy. If not, I can't keep it. That's not necessarily true. I mean, if you're way underwater, it would be crazy to reaffirm that debt because now it makes the bankruptcy totally worthless almost. So you're doing fine. You're allowed to do that. If we want to do another modification, that's a possibility. The only negative with that, Chris, is that you're not going to be able to get the ex off the mortgage. If you do a modification, they're absolutely keeping her on the mortgage, so you guys are going to continue to have that uncomfortable quarterly phone call where she starts yelling at you. And so maybe the best option for you is a refi. You do that at rpfunding.com. I would call them first, and let's see if we can actually refi this thing down to a lower rate, get her off the mortgage. And if that doesn't work out, let's try to look at a modification. We just might have to keep it there. And you can do that at 321-282-1055. That's the number you call for a free review of your monthly mortgage payment and to see if you're paying too much. 321-282-1055. And I know there were some other callers who wanted the home value hotline again. That's the home value hotline is the local Zillow, so to speak, but the real world, real life Zillow. These are local realtors on the ground, no obligation. They're not going to harass you. 866-222-8231. This is how we really find out what our house is worth to base our most important financial decisions in the future upon, as opposed to some stupid website that doesn't know anything about your local neighborhood.
You know what? We found another advantage to the home value hotline yesterday when I was dealing with Robert Palmer.
What?
And that is when you do go on Zillow or any of those other sites, all of a sudden your email address is then forwarded to every loan company you can imagine and many you've never heard of, and they start barraging your email with packages. If you go with this program, you're not going to get a whole bunch of feelers out there and people trying to tease you with teaser rates. You're only going to be getting the information you ask for. That is valuable.
It's incredibly valuable. Anytime that you go to one of these sites and you have to enter your information, you just know you're going to get bombarded with emails for the rest of your life, and no one wants that. The home value hotline is set up to where you're not going to get harassed. You're really just going to find out what your house is worth by a realtor on the ground in your neighborhood. 866-222-8231. And also, very importantly, if you want to stay in your house and you want to figure out what your house is worth, feel free to call that number. But if you want to see what your mortgage payment is currently and to see if there's a way to get your mortgage payment lowered, get a free review of your mortgage payment by calling our office at 321-282-1055. You can call that number anytime. You're going to talk to a live human being, and we're going to really get some financial information and see if a loan modification might be the way to go for you. Because I don't want you to pay too much for your mortgage. Your neighbor is paying 3%. If you're at 7%, we got to do something about that.
Time now for a break. But if you're having problems with your mortgage that could cost you your home, remember that the offices of Gregory and Clark are your one-stop shop for saving that home. Short sales, foreclosure, bankruptcy, refinance, all under one roof. Call right now, 321-282-1055. We'll be right back.
And certainly you can do better than 5.5% through a traditional refi.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back after these messages. Welcome back to Behind the Law with Justin Clark, the show that takes you behind the law and answers your toughest legal questions.
Hey, Al in Flagler County, how can Justin help you?
Are you there?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Yeah, I've got a home with a first mortgage, regular conventional, and I also have an equity line on it, and it's I'm at 5.5%, and I wanted to consider refinancing to combine the equity line, which is not a fixed rate, along with my first mortgage, and I'm a disabled vet, and I have not used my VA benefit.
Okay. Tell me who the lenders are on both mortgages, how much you owe, and what the interest rates are.
They're the same. They're Wells Fargo.
Was it Wachovia before or Wells Fargo the whole time?
I think, let's see, it was 9 years ago. It may have been Wachovia. I know everything I get is in Wells Fargo's name now.
Okay. How much do you owe on the first? How much do you owe on the second?
I owe $158 on the first, and I owe $38 on the equity line.
And interest rate on both?
The interest is 5.5 on the first mortgage, and I want to say it's based on prime for my equity line.
Gotcha. Any idea what the house is worth?
It's probably worth $20,000 or $30,000 more than what I owe. It's probably worth around $230,000.
Okay.
I owe like $198 or something between the two loans.
I mean, that's good then, because that opens up you to a couple of different options. Maybe you can do a regular traditional refinance to where you can get rid of having both mortgages, and certainly you can do better than 5.5% through a traditional refinance. However, maybe you want to look at a modification on the first. And sometimes the modification can take that 5.5% all the way down to 2%, which is literally going to cut the mortgage in half. And so because you have a little bit of equity, you have a lot of different options. Do you have any other debt, any big credit card debts, any other dets out there, Al?
I've got some small, well, I say small, probably about $8,000 credit cards.
Because the other option is, and again, this is a little bit more of an aggressive option, is you can file a bankruptcy and absolutely totally wipe away that second mortgage, although you won't be able to wipe away the second mortgage actually if you have equity in the first. So scratch that. I think you have a lot of options. Call that 321-282-1055 number, and we'll do a review and to see which is the best direction for you to go, whether that be a refinance program or a modification program. We're going to tell you which is the best way to go, but certainly we got to get you out of that 5.5 because you can get down between 2 and 4%. And get you closer to where your neighbors are.
That'll wrap up our discussion, but there's still so much to talk about that could save your home. So if you have questions, give the offices of Gregory and Clark a call right now at 321-282-1055. There's never a charge for a consultation, and it could save your home. We'll see you again next week, right here on TV 27.
Thank you for watching Behind the Law with Justin Clark. Be sure to join us again next week as Justin takes you behind the law and answers your legal questions.